greetings and welcome to another episode of Savvy with Samke, a 4-part series powered by ProfMed, a medical aid for professionals. My name is Samke Mhlongo, your host, and I am an international speaker, best-selling author, and award-winning wealth coach. But today, I'm just a girl who wants to find out a little bit more about balancing work, life, being a mommy, being in a relationship, being a divorcee, and to help me with this conversation is my good friend, Charmaine Shaz Dubé.
Thank you, Sam. Hey, Savvy Squad. I'm Shaz. I'm a digital entrepreneur, broadcaster, and a conversation starter. Now, touching on what you said, Sam, do you remember the early days of motherhood, juggling all those roles in your life?
I don't remember the early days of motherhood because it was 18 years ago that I first became a mom. My eldest is 18 and my son, he's just 12 years old. Oh. But I do remember more recently being a mom to my little pup, Miss Daphne. And I know that you are mom to Chai.
Yes, absolutely, Sam. I may not have the spouse yet, but you know, we're working on it. But I am a mom to a doggy named Chai, and honestly, he's the light of my life. And if we're speaking on the rails of mental health, he literally saved my life.
Yeah, you speak about that quite openly and often, that, you know, on your journey of weight loss and actually just kind of getting to grips with the fact that you're going through this major surgery, that you're making these major lifestyle changes, how your little baby Chai Chai came in to help you have light in your world, but also to have enough discipline to take your daily walks.
Absolutely. Chai not only saved my mental health, but my physical health as well. And today's guest knows a lot about juggling all those balls in different roles, whether you're a mother or a newborn to a dog mom. Right, Sam?
Yes, she is juggling being a new mom, being a wife, being a seasoned entrepreneur, and making sure that she implements daily habits to take some me time for herself and to implement self-care. So please do not go anywhere, because after this we're speaking to Perri King. We're back on Savvy with Samke, still talking all things work-life balance, family dynamics, and entrepreneurship. As promised, we have a dynamic woman speaking to us today. And before I introduce her to you, I'd like to tell you a little bit about her. She describes herself as a spiritually hungry new mom who is passionate about life's experiences. And as a result of this, she started her very first business while she was in primary school, because she believes that if you do not create your own destiny, no one else will do it for you. Since then, she has opened and closed numerous ventures, which we're going to get into, and she has learned personal and business finances from the ground up. Today, Perri is the co-founder of Faith and Fear, a dynamic growth marketing agency, and is the insanely passionate member of the Brave Collective, which is a space and place for like-minded women in various phases of their lives. She is also a new wish mom with a baby girl turning 2 very soon, a wife and general everyday hustler who joins us today to talk about the road she has walked from corporate to trying her hand at adulting. Shaz, we're speaking to the wonderful Perri King. Hey, Perri.
Hi, Perri girl.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for that intro.
You look absolutely amazing. Love the color blocking.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I mean, looking this fabulous, it's hard to believe that you are the mom of a toddler.
Sure, let me tell you, the makeup lady was exceptional. We've had a bit of a rough one. So like a 2-hour wake window last night. But, you know, I honestly take my hat off to every working mom. When I look back at those early months, when I look back at maternity leave and the fact that women are expected to go back to work, in some cases after 6 weeks, in other cases after 3 months, even 6 months. I mean, my one friend in the Czech Republic, she's going to get 2 years off. Did you know this? And you can split it, you can split it between the dad and the mom. So depending on whose business or who's working or finances finances or whatever, you have a discussion as the mom and dad and you split it.
This is a law across the board?
Yeah. But yeah, when I look back at how I used to function after 4 months coming back on min sleep, I look at moms differently now. It's like a club. We make eye contact, you know, in Woolies and Checkers. Like,
I feel your pain.
Yeah. Look at you still operating on no sleep.
Yes. Now, Perri, your bio is jam-packed. I really want to hone in on your story. Starting a business in primary school?
Look, I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds like I was making mega millions, you know, like as some cyber queen behind my laptop. It was not. It was called Perri Your Pal.
Oh, love it.
It was a babysitting service.
Okay.
But what I realized was that actually at, 10, 11, people are not going to leave their kid with you.
Right.
You'd have to be like a seriously deranged person to do that. But what there was a gap for was entertainment of your kids. So especially in South Africa, a lot of kids during school holidays or even just day to day, you'll probably have a nanny or a granny or somebody that can bridge the gap between the parents and school. But you run out of ideas, or someone gets sick, or your kid is, not stimulated, and that's when Perri Your Pal would come in. And I'd come and bake cupcakes with them and do painting and drawing and go for walks along the Spruit where I grew up. And so I had a few moms who would literally call me in and be like, today, the one lady had tick-bite fever. She was like, I've got tick-bite fever. I cannot get out of bed. My kid is like jumping at me. Mommy. Can you come? Can your mom come and drop you off? Because I was 10, 11. Can your mom come and drop you off? And then, I used to get paid hourly. So that's kind of where it started.
I love the entrepreneurial spirit you've always had. And I love the fact that you mentioned you've learned financial and life lessons from the ground up. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the financial lessons you learned in closing some of the business ventures as opposed to all the operating ones. Because we often speak about the highs of entrepreneurship and the successes and not so much about the lows and the failures.
Well, my biggest lesson, for sure, in starting my first business, my first proper business, let me say that, left corporate, started an events company, was, really gung-ho. We had great first contracts, Coca-Cola and Oakley and these types of things. We were ready to go. But my biggest blind side was actually, or my blind spot was actually my partner. And I didn't have access to the financials, and I didn't know what was in our bank accounts, and I couldn't shift money in and out of our bank account.
Your business partner or life partner?
No, business partner.
Okay.
Business partner. Great business partners, really could think on our feet. We worked well together. We had different strengths, but all of the purse strings were held by him. And it really disabled me in a way that I owned the relationships with suppliers, and I wasn't able to pay them when I wanted to pay them. And that talks in business. That talks when and how you pay people will really affect the services and the loyalty that you get from people. And I think that was a very big learning for me. Like, if I'm going to put my name on something and I'm going to really get behind it, then I need to have control and really understand the financial position that we're in, which is going to then have a knock-on effect into every business decision and relationship that we have from there on. So, big learning. Big
lesson for us as well.
You know what? I'm starting out in business, and just listening to you, I also recently quit my own job 6 months ago, and I'm learning.
May the force be with you.
Thank you. And you sit on the edge thinking about, where's my money going to come from? Where's my next paycheck going to come from? Am I going to be able to maintain my bills? I have a little 4-legged doggy at home. And I'm thinking, what? Do I cut insurance? When you look at the period... You were jumping over from, corporate space into owning your own business. What were some of the challenges you faced without even realizing that these could be, hindrances in your life?
Yeah. So I think, first of all, I have to really start with checking my privilege. So at the time I was 25 when we started Faith and Fear, and my business partner Taryn, who you both know, is 10 years older than me, 10 years wiser than me, was at the time MD of a really, really successful business which she had built from the ground up. And so I think making that decision at 25 to go on our own and to go go with it with a partner that really had seen and done a lot herself too, I felt like I had this really great support and foundation, coupled with the fact that I was like, hey, mom and dad, can I move back in?
I've been 5 to being there, so I know what you're talking about.
So let's just call a spade a spade. Like a lot of where I am today and how I got here has been because of the shoulders of giants that I've stood on. And so it was really practical and basics. It was like, cool, Taryn, I'd love to start this thing with you. I've got X debit orders. I need X amount a month to make sure that these don't bounce. How are we going to go about it? I'm going to reduce as much as I can, but still be smart. And so we really started like that. Taryn was like, I got a nice credit card facility. We've got 6 months runway, and we did it like that. Like, okay, if we don't make it, if we're not washing our own face within that time, then we really do need to be realistic. At the time, Taryn had, a little son, so her situation, when I look at her decision now, and if I would make that same decision now with my 18-month-old child,
would it even be the same?
Yeah, brave. So yeah, kind of went into that. And then to your point around the finances, really went into the nitty-gritty of what my debit orders were. And the non-negotiables really for me were things like, I have to have a car, because without a car, I won't be able to do my job and be economically viable. So my car repayment was one. Not a fancy car, guys. Let's be serious, okay?
Just like, a little beep beep.
Yeah. It has wheels, will go. So car. And then the other was medical aid. And I know obviously today we're chatting with you around medical needs and really what that journey's been like. But one of the things that I didn't realize, and it was actually my mom and dad who at the time advised me and said, Perri, we understand that medical aid is one of the bigger debit orders that you have at the time. But if you stop that debit order, when you want to start again in 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, you will be underwritten again. You'll have a waiting period, which I didn't know. So you'll have this whole period of time where you're uninsured. And then you may have exclusions when you go back. So say, for example, you slip a disc or something in that time, where you were uninsured, that could be excluded from your cover. So that was a big moment for me where I was like, okay, so my non-negotiables really do need to be covered in order to make this business viable.
Have you had such conversations with your parents?
No.
Like I can't imagine my mom or my grand being like, okay, let's talk exclusions. It's like, child.
I mean, you saw just now, my mom just called me asking for my ID number. I'm like, Mom, what are you doing with my ID number? She's like, it's for my pension fund. And that's where the conversation...
Ooh, that's a nice one.
That's where the conversation ends. And I said to Sam, she better be giving me $1 million.
Beneficiary, I was going to say, you're not beneficiary now.
So definitely, I love that your parents and people around you were, realistic, because I've came into this game and I've kind of been left to my own vice. Even as my mother, she's like, you know what, I believe in you, I trust in you, but it's difficult. I'm every month left with the decision of being like, okay, what debit order you playing check and check.
May the best debit order win.
With these debit orders. And, as a mom, I'm not a mom yet.
Well, you consider yourself mom to your four-legged baby.
I'm a dog mom, yes, of course. So I do have a child in that sense. But looking at, you running your own business, you've been business savvy since 25 years old, and you have this support structure. You have a partner now and a 2-year-old. How's the transition into motherhood been in the sense of work-life balance? Because you have a new baby and your own business demands a lot of time from you as an entrepreneur.
How did you even meet a man when you...
that is a funny story. Because at the time when we started our business, I was single and ready to mingle. And I really did want to meet somebody and settle down. And it just wasn't happening for me. And you kind of get to that age where you're like, 28, 29, you've met all your friends, friends, the friends of the friends. You're at random brides. And you're just like, yes.
Solo dolo.
Yes. And my one friend said to me, she was like, Perri, you're working very hard. Hey, you're never going to meet a man from behind that laptop. And I was like,
these are facts.
Let me try. And I did. So I met my husband on Tinder, guys.
What?
I swear to you. And my sister met her husband on Tinder too.
That is
Tinder South Africa.
I think that's when it was beginning, Sam. Not Tinder today.
Guys, and you only had one picture on his Tinder profile, which was screaming catfish to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you only have one picture, was that the one good angle?
Yes, right. Do you even look
steal
like
that
that?
picture from somebody else?
Right.
Anyway, yeah, guys. So, and I'm quite a tall girl. So when I arrived and he stood up and he was taller than me, I was like, I'm in. I'm in. Yeah, even if he's a sociopath. No, no, I'm joking.
No, we believe you're joking.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a beautiful young family. Again, that transition to,
wild.
did you decide that you guys are having a baby? Was it like, whoops, here we go?
No. So we decided, and then it happened that time. So there was no.
Did you use an app as well? Like, now we're going to find a husband. Now we're going to find a baby. I need
Isn't
to
that
hold
everything?
on
the same
the
for
12th.
every year at 3 o'clock. No, it really wasn't orchestrated like that. But she was definitely wanted. So we'd had the discussion. We'd had the financial discussion. My husband's also an entrepreneur, so I think that's something that both of us have to consider. The risk at the time, and something's got to give, right? And it's always really the mom or the woman, I think, that sacrifices the most. And certainly upfront, there's certain things that you just take on and they just are yours. But I must say my husband really has stepped up, and I demand that too. So it's important, and I see the reward that he gets in it too. He's a very hands-on dad. My daughter just really adores him, and that's rewarding for him too. I mean, who doesn't want to be a great parent? At the end of the day, everybody wants that,
It's making me think you're so lucky because African culture, hands-on dad, I don't know.
Everything is on you. I love that you spoke about you and your husband getting together, especially him as an entrepreneur himself. What do you, in your decision of choosing a medical aid plan, what are some of the decisions that you two need to talk about? Is it how much MSA do I need? Is it how much hospital cover do I need? Is it day-to-day? How do you go about, deciding what plan makes the most sense?
Is it even, do you have medical aid before
Yes,
I fall in love with you?
We do.
Oh, I'm saying, did you,
Should I ask him?
Yeah, before we conclude this date, are you covered?
No, so not at that point, but certainly before having a baby. I mean, that is just, non-negotiable. I think for us, the biggest concern and the thing we always talk about is like the hospital cover, the emergency cover. That's the non-negotiable. And I think a lot of that is covered. So even, for example, on ProfMed, the sort of the entry level product will have that comprehensive hospitalization. Like you're in an accident or something goes wrong, you go to the hospital and you are covered, you are sorted. So I think that for us was a massive consideration. For us, the medical savings account wasn't a huge one. It's something that it's a nice to have, it's there, but we do know that mostly day-to-day things and sort of out-of-hospital expenses we would need to cover. So we're kind of in that space now. We're very fortunate, touch wood, we don't have chronic conditions and those sorts of things. So for us, we've really focused on getting the most comprehensive hospital cover. That makes sure that my husband, myself, and my daughter, should we need anything there, because that's where the bills rack up, hey guys, like specialists and emergencies and trauma and casualty and all of that. Some of those bills, I mean, an ICU bill can be R1 million a day.
That's insane.
So so that's sort of the space that can really make or break your long-term life. Where do you go to from there if you've got those bills to cover? So that was really part of our decision making, and then to make sure that from day one, when Peyton was born, she was covered and on our medical aid, because I also had kind of not a complicated pregnancy, just Peyton was very small. And so the likelihood that she would have needed to go to NICU straight from birth was quite high. And thank goodness she didn't have to. So she was very strong and her lungs were great and everything. But for me, that was definitely like calls to double check. Like, okay, how do we go about it? And then, making sure she was...
I'm being selfish here because I don't have kids. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions because I need to plan. Do you find that the maternity cover, that was easy to integrate to? Did you have any difficulties? What was covered? What isn't covered?
It was an amazing experience. In fact, I feel like that's one of the moments where, ProfMed really shines and comes through for you. You're able to customize a lot. There are a lot more in your day-to-day, I think, because you're going through this new experience. It's very personal. It's gifts that you can choose, lots of checkups and scans. And I think, going through that process, it's so it's so real to you, it's so like on your person that you want to feel like somebody is checking in, somebody it does have your back. You know, if you want a lactation consultant or somebody to come and help you, that's offered. So I think that really is something that you don't think about until you're in that situation. But if you don't have the medical aid cover, guys, did you know this? If you don't have medical aid cover when you fall pregnant, you have to wait until afterwards. And that's across the board. That's just
the
standard.
Full 9 months?
Yes.
Out of pocket? I hope our Savvy squad has heard that.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you are planning to get pregnant, it's really important that you are covered. I mean, a lot of stuff for the mom or for the pregnant lady also needs to be covered.
Yeah.
So really that's my one message. Like if you are thinking of falling pregnant or becoming
I'm
mom, make sure you're
reevaluating my medical aid decisions as we speak.
Well, even if you're not thinking of it, like unplanned pregnancies, anyone that knows me will know I had my daughter, my only daughter, in university. Yeah. Certainly unplanned.
My mom too, in high school.
Yeah, right? I'm so lucky and so thankful that I was on my mom's medical aid. Yeah. So I was covered, even though I was not the main medical aid member in uni, because had I not, I had a complicated pregnancy. My daughter was born at 32 weeks instead of 39 weeks. Yeah. She was in ICU for the first 11 days of her life. Like I had preeclampsia. I had to have this. Yeah, like
that's quite a lot.
No, it seems in life God has just decided that I get a lot.
Maximum learning. You're just leveling up. At a pace.
I'd like to graduate from the exam of life, but anyway, yeah.
Perri, you have what seems like a very busy life. Mom, wife, business owner. Let's talk self-care. What are the things you partake in to take care of yourself, to make sure that Perri is whole for everybody else, so that you can show up as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a wife, as a daughter?
You know, I think the first thing is acceptance. Like when you talk about work-life balance, I don't think it will ever be really balanced. I think you have to accept where you're at. And I kind of always think about my old consulting days at Deloitte. Even though I was in the marketing team, I used to watch the consultants, how they would have periods where they would be on the bench, which is like when you're not on a project, versus when you're sprinting and you're on a project. And I kind of like to view life like that too. There's some moments, like at the moment I'm sprinting quite hard. Like daughter vomiting, lots of work projects, lots of commitments. You know, you've got to kind of balance that out. But for me, the self-care non-negotiables are always to take time, and I prefer it in the morning, to do gym or a walk or a something that starts the day for me. And someone once said, they were like, you know, if 1 hour of your day, and say you're working on a 12-hour day, is, you know, say 10% of your day, if you can't find 10% for yourself, then your life's really not working for you. And I feel like just having that little bit of space to kind of start on a good note, no matter how the day before ended, it does set the pace and change the day. So I do try and do that. Not every day I get it right, but I really do try to schedule that. I live, sleep, eat and breathe by my diary, guys.
Love it.
Like, is it, babe, is it in the diary? If it's not in the diary, it's not happening.
Speaking of babe, how do you guys maintain the magic, the spark in your marriage?
Acceptance, Samke.
Acceptance. You know, as someone who has been divorced for 10 years and is ready to walk down an aisle other than the airplane aisle again, you know, what are some of the ways in which modern couples keep their spark in their marriage and in their relationship?
So look, I'm going to be like brutally honest. I don't think it's so much about spark as it is about real connection. And I won't even lie to you guys that, you know, Vaughan, my husband, and I do go to couples therapy. We either do it as preventative or we do it after something has happened. And I think having a young family, both of us, you know, coming from quite different backgrounds and family structures ourselves, we have to constantly try and get onto the same page. And one of the things that the psychologist said to us was, you know, the more regularly you do that, the less distance and gap you leave between each other to make that the new normal. And that's what I'm so petrified about. You know, you start out in your relationship where, you know, it's new and it's exciting and you sleep touching feet, and, you know, that person knows exactly what you're doing and what you like, and your interests are overlapping, and then you kind of get busy and you add a child and you add finances and you add family complications and you add all these dynamics, and suddenly the two of you are on very different playing fields. And how do you then get back together? You know, it's easier when you're that close, and it's much harder when your two worlds are very separate. So we're trying, and I think that's the point, is that it's never going to be perfect, but I think in a marriage and in any relationship, a friendship, a marriage, whatever, I think as long as both people are trying really hard, then you've got the secret sauce. Then you've got the spark.
Yeah.
But if one person taps out, there you are trying to get back on the same page by yourself. Then, so I think that's really the thing that I hold so close to my heart, is that he wants to try and he wants to put in the effort with me and with my daughter and with his life. You know, also you can't make somebody else's life a picture that they don't buy into. So it's kind of checking in all the time of like, this is the picture I want. Same? Okay.
Cool.
We good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Check in quick.
People change and life changes, and it's not always static, and it's acceptance.
Yeah. Do you think any of your exes would have wanted to go to a psychologist, couples therapy?
With me?
Yeah.
No, I think, again, when you speak about the stigma in African communities, people don't feel the need to go and get help. Oh, why do I need help? We can sort out, you and me. I don't need someone else to tell me what to do.
Yes.
And that's a stigma that we need to get a hold of and break, because it's only lapsing into future generations.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my exes know, my new, possibly.
My future, my future must know couples therapy.
Guys, and you know what the thing is also, is why I found it so, I guess, freeing, is that I think a lot of men feel like if they go to see a psychologist, they're going to be in trouble, or they're going to be the one that's pointing fingers at, no, the psychologist is going to say to them, like you must be better, you must do more, whatever. It's not like that, guys. Like, it's not like, I think, what people perceive it to be. Yes. In fact, it's basically having somebody that can advocate for both sides. And I did that really because I am a chatty Cathy, and I will get my side across, and he will know how I feel. But it's really hard sometimes for him to tell me how he's feeling. And I don't want to wake up in 5 years' time and the guy's not told me, actually, raising hand, you were wrong there, Perri, or like, oh, I didn't like how you did that. So it's creating that space where there's a third-party person that can say, okay, Perri, I know what you think you heard, but that's not what he's saying. And so that's been so good. And I think especially for men, and I mean, I don't know, you guys have got to work that out. But to say, like, they're advocates for both sides, and it's not just this pro-female, like, wife is best, wife knows all type of situation.
Wife is right. Well, even sometimes
mostly, like 98% of the time.
Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's right. Per, if you could give divorced Samke, who is looking to enter a new marriage and do it right this time, never married, Shaz, who, you know, no kids, is looking, would like to have a family and do it right first time, what would be like 3 tips that you would give us around finances, which we know is one of the top 3 reasons people get divorced, around being responsible with your health care, and around that work-life balance?
Okay, so I think finances and relationship, I think in the early days, like when you're just getting together, I certainly held my cards close. And I think once you get into a position where you have a child with somebody, I think then even as women, like, it's 50-50, guys. My sister once said to me, she was like, Perri, she's also 10 years older than me. She was like, listen, you get the assets 50% of them in your name.
Yes.
Pay 50% of them, and you do all the hard things. You don't turn away when like the big paydays come, and then you like there paying for groceries, because one day, yes,
that sounds like a
because
guilty
one day
streak.
one day if you ever get divorced, God forbid, they've got an asset to leverage to get the white picket fence with the new wife,
and you've got cushions and curtains.
Yes,
I know.
You've got cushions and curtains, and you're fat because you ate all the groceries. I'm joking, but you know what I mean. So I think financially, that was a big wake-up call for me, and I was privileged again at the advice I received very young on to say, let's go 50-50.
Yeah.
Like, I'm working, you working, let's make lifestyle decisions, let's make kid decisions, let's make money decisions, holiday decisions, travel, whatever, together.
Yeah.
Because you don't lose your power then in the decision making. So I think that's the big one, especially for women. So own your finances, go 50-50, and really, play open cards there, especially when it comes to a child.
Right.
Then your second question was
healthcare, because you see
healthcare,
on top of that.
Hospital.
Yeah.
That's all I really focus big time on is the big ticket items. Like, am I very, very covered there?
Don't negotiate with those.
Yes,
Yeah.
and especially in South Africa, we're so privileged, guys. If you're on a private healthcare medical aid, your access to specialists and the time that you can see a specialist is so quick. I know your daughter's now in the UK, right?
Yeah.
My sister lives in France. You can wait up to 2 weeks just to see a GP.
Yeah.
And for us, it's wild. You're like, oh,
do you have a space at 2?
sore throat now, and then 2 hours later I'm seeing my GP.
Yes.
So yeah, that for me is a big one. Just focus on making sure that you've got the bare minimum really ticked always and forever. It's like the thing.
Yeah.
And then
finally, relationship advice.
Yeah, relationship. I think just try to own who you are with the person from day one.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to change and they're not going to change.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and no one's perfect.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining us, Perri. And as always, guys, make sure to stay tuned for my Savvy Solutions. What a lovely conversation we have just had with Perri, who is doing amazingly well at balancing her work life as an entrepreneur, her role as a new mom, and a relationship as a new wife. And here are 5 savvy solutions that you can use to help your growing family's needs. Number 1, if you're considering starting a family, don't be like me and have an unplanned pregnancy. I love my daughter. But understand the maternity program on the medical option you are choosing, and make sure that you understand the pre-authorization requirements, the day-to-day hospital benefits you need to have, and also what you need to do to register your baby directly after birth. Number 2, make sure that you have chosen an option that has the day-to-day benefits to cover your over-the-counter meds, emergency room visits, etc. Number 3, please do your research. Please understand the restrictions on your options, so what's included, what's not, and how the medical aid works. So is it a network of hospitals? Is it specific specialists that you can see or not? Number 4, preventative care. When you are starting your family, please make sure that you do your screenings and make sure that your baby's health and also your maternity health is taken care of. And finally, number 5, make sure to use the PPS wallet or PPS gap cover to make sure that you're not running out of funds for any medical needs you may have or emergency visits.
Now, Sam, those are absolutely amazing, amazing tips. As a mom to be in the future myself, I look forward to learning from your savvy solutions. Thank you so much to Perri for sharing her experiences and her journey as an entrepreneur, as a mom with us today. And thank you to you, our Savvy Squad, for joining us.
But before we go, as always, remember to check out Prof Med, which is a medical aid that understands the unique needs of professionals and growing families. You can visit www.profmed.co.za to find out more.